The Mets take on the Cubs, 2:20 Eastern first pitch at Wrigley Field. The Cubs are minus 155, no line on the total as of yet. Now, we did see a nickel fade of the Cubs in the early wagering. Once again, Chicago minus 155, no line on the total as of yet. 66% of the consensus is leaning towards Chicago. We have Yu Darvish for the Cubs, Vargas for the Mets. The Cubbies are first in home walks, really doing a good job getting those free passes at Wrigley Field. They're also winning 70% of their games played at the current market price. So although we do not have a line on the total, I think the Cubbies should be able to pull this one out at home. Give me Chicago winning this one outright for some money line cash. All right, next game we have for you, it is going to be Astros taking on the Yankees, 7:05 Yankee Stadium. New York's minus 160, totals at 9.5. We did see a 15-cent move toward the Yankees and movement upward on the total, a half a run. Once again, the Yankees are minus 160, totals at 9.5. 57% of the consensus is leaning toward New York, 73% shaded toward the over. Right now, Houston's plus 150 on the money line, New York plus 115 on the run line. We have Paxton for the Yanks, Brad Peacock for the Astros. Peacock comes into this game with a 6-4 record and a 3.67 ERA. Houston's third in runs allowed on the road, first in hits allowed in that same category. Meanwhile, when it comes to the total, the Yankees are 24-15 to the under at home. Give me the Astros plus 1.5 and the under 9.5 runs in that game. Next matchup, Marlins, Phillies, 7:05 South Philly. Not sure what the status is on the game. There was a massive refinery explosion in South Philly at the Sunoco refinery. So I have no idea if that will affect the game when it comes to air quality or just safety, as there were many explosions in South Philly. Very bizarre story there. But anyway, keep an eye on that when it comes to your capping or when it comes to where you tie your money in, because if the game gets postponed, wouldn't want to see your money tied up in a wager that's not going to happen, and I don't want to see you have to wait to get that ticket back. But anyway, Phil's taking on the Marlins, 7:05 Eastern first pitch in South Philly. The Phils are minus 225, totals 8.5. 65% are leaning Philadelphia, 76% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Marlins are plus 195 on the money line. Philly minus $110 on the run line. We have Aaron Nola for the Phils, Sandy Alcantara for the Marlins. Alcantara is just 3-6 on the year for the Fish. Meanwhile, Aaron Nola 6-1 for the Phils. Phillies are 7th in home scoring, 2nd in walks at home. When it comes to the total, Marlins are 22-13 to the under on the road. So with all that in mind, I'm going to lean Philadelphia minus 1.5 and the under 8.5 in that game. Next matchup, Braves, Nationals, 7:05 Nation's Capital. The Nationals are minus 145, totals at 9. 55% are leaning Atlanta, 67% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Braves are plus 125 on the money line. Washington plus $135 on the run line. We have Steven Strasburg for the Nats, Dallas Keuchel making his first start for the Braves this evening. He's projected on the bump. Atlanta's 11-2 in their last 13. They're also 12-4 in their last 16 on the road. Meanwhile, Washington on the other side, 20th in hits allowed at home. Might not bid too well for them the way Atlanta's going. They could put up a 10 spot on their own. Total-wise, Washington 22-15 to the over at home. Give me the Braves plus 1.5 and the over 9 runs in that game. Next matchup, Padres, Pirates, 7:05 Pittsburgh. The Pirates are minus 115, totals at 8.5. We saw a nickel move toward Pittsburgh and a full 1-run move downward on the total. Once again, Pittsburgh minus 115, total 8.5. 54% are leaning Padres, 75% shaded toward the over. Right now, San Diego's plus 105 on the money line. Pittsburgh plus a $1.85 on the run line. We have Joe Musgrove for the Pirates, Lauer for the Padres. Now, if you like Pittsburgh in this matchup here, just keep in mind Musgrove's just 4-7 on the year with a 5.10 ERA. Now, the Pirates dropped 9 out of their last dozen. They're also 26th in runs allowed at home. When it comes to the scoring, San Diego is 22-12 to the over when traveling. So with all that in mind, I'm going to lean San Diego plus 105 and the over 8.5 in that game. Next matchup, Tigers, Indians, 7-10 Cleveland. The Indians are minus 185, totals at 8. We did see a nickel move toward the Indians and movement downward on the total half a run. Once again, Cleveland minus 185, totals at 8. 63% are leaning Indians, 68% shaded toward the over. Right now, Detroit is plus 165 on the money line. Cleveland plus $1.10 on the run line. We have Trevor Bauer for the Indians, Boyd for the Tigers. Now, if you like Cleveland in the spot here, Bauer does come into this game with a 3.57 ERA. Cleveland's also 5th in runs allowed, and they've been winners in 5 out of their last 7 games. Now, total-wise, Detroit is 22-13 to the under on the road, so it's in a very expensive price point. I don't want to lay the 1.5 because I think it's going to stay under, but give me Cleveland minus 185 and the under 8 runs in that game. All right, next matchup, Blue Jays, Red Sox, 7-10 Boston. The Red Sox are the massive $3.60 favorites. Boston minus 360, total 8.5. We did see a 20-cent move toward the Red Sox and movement downward on the total half a run. Once again, Boston minus 360, total 8.5. 65% are leaning Red Sox, 72% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Blue Jays are plus 280 on the money line. We have Trent Thornton for the Blue Jays, Chris Sale for the Red Sox. Very expensive price point for the Sox, and if you're leaning towards them in this matchup here, Chris Sale is just 3-7 on the year. Boston's also covered just 12 out of 34 games at home this year at Fenway. And of course, when I refer to covering or the spread or ATS or the number, anything like that, I'm actually referring to the run line. So once again, when it comes to the run line, Boston is just 12-22 ATS in their last 34 at home. They're also 3-7 straight up in their last 10 at Fenway as well. A couple more things to add about Boston. They are 16th in runs allowed at home, and they are second to last in walks given up in that same category. 29th in walks allowed at home. Unbelievable. Total-wise, Toronto 80% to the over in their last 5. Give me the Blue Jays plus 1.5 and the over 8.5 in that game. Next matchup, White Sox, Rangers, 8:05 Arlington. Texas is minus 140, totals 11.5. We did see a 10-cent move toward Texas and movement upward on the total half a run. Once again, Texas minus 140, total 11.5. 57% are leaning Rangers, 65% shaded toward the over. Right now, the White Sox are plus 130 on the money line. Texas plus $1.25 on the run line. We have Ariel Jurado for the Rangers, Ronaldo Lopez for the White Sox. Lopez is just 4-11 with a 6.31 ERA for Chicago. Meanwhile, on the other side, Jurado's 4-3 on the year. Texas is third in home scoring, 26-14 on their home field. Now, scoring-wise, very bizarre thing here, but I believe it to be true. The wind, supposedly, is going to be blowing inward toward home plate today. And as a matter of fact, the wind will be blowing 15 miles per hour toward home plate today. So if you're thinking about a total, just keep that in mind. And the White Sox are also 20-15 to the under when traveling. So with all that in mind, I'm going to lean Texas minus 140 and the under 11.5 in that game. Speaking of unders, Cincinnati's taking on Milwaukee, 8:10 Eastern first pitch in Milwaukee. The Brewers are minus 135, totals at 9. We did see a 15-cent move toward Milwaukee and movement upward on the total half a run. Once again, the Brewers are minus 135, totals at 9. 63% are leaning Milwaukee, 73% toward the over. Right now, the Reds are plus 115 on the money line. Milwaukee plus $1.55 on the run line. We have Anderson for the Brewers, Sonny Gray for the Reds. Now, I know Sonny Gray has been getting ripped the past couple of years by the fans, but he's coming into this game with a 3.64 ERA, which with these juice baseballs this year, really not a bad ERA. Once again, Sonny Gray, 3.64 ERA. Meanwhile, Anderson on the other side, 4.05 ERA for the Brewers. Milwaukee's in a tough spot right now. They dropped 6 out of their last 7. They're also 26th in striking out in Major League Baseball, really struggling to make contact. The Reds on the other side, 5-game winning streak. They're 5-0 in their last 5. They're also 23-14 against the spread away from home. So very good on the run line when traveling for this Cincinnati team. Now, total-wise, Cincinnati, 15-1 to the under in their last 16. Let me repeat that. Cincinnati, 15-1 to the under in their last 16. Give me the Reds plus 1.5 in the under 9 runs in that game. Next